Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming to you live to talk about episode 4 of the anime series Koizu Uso. And if I'm completely honest, this one kind of fell flat for me again, much as was the case with the second episode. The series has kind of been hit and miss with me. Like the first episode really grabbed me by the lapels, pulled me in, engaged me, compelled me, just left me floored. And then we get around to episode 2, which really sort of focuses a lot between Najima and Rarina. They're getting together, they're having been pitted together and everything, and it was kind of stupid. It fell flat for me. Didn't really engage me, didn't really, keep me compelled and actively watching. Episode 3 rolls around and it's mostly passive, but toward the end it was like grabbing me by the throat again, and I had to talk about it. I hadn't even done a video about episode 2 because I wasn't motivated to. And so I'm watching this episode 4, and it's mostly like episode 2 all over again. A lot of the stuff that was revolving around Najima and Rorina, because there's so many unanswered questions as to what Rorina's motivations are in all of this, what she's getting out of this, whether she's being genuine or she's a liar as to trying to keep Najima and Takasaki together, keeping them kissing and all this kind of stuff. Like, I don't understand where she's coming from. Maybe she is just, sort of that naivete is genuine, that she really feels she wants to help keep them together. She admires Takasaki or whatever it is. She doesn't necessarily have feelings or emotions, romantic or otherwise, for Najima, and she kind of maybe she's being truthful, as she says in this episode. She wants Takasaki to actually be happy, and if that happiness means sacrificing, this situation she doesn't even want to be part and parcel with, of having the arranged marriage with Najima, giving him up in a sense for, Takasaki's being able to smile and being happy, maybe that's true. Maybe that she's being truthful. Of course, the series is called Love and Lies, and it's like, well, who's lying? I put forth the speculation going back to episode 1 that maybe it's the government that's lying, which, by the way, the most stunning thing we find out is that, like, state-sanctioned sex at the age of 16 is perfectly acceptable. Hump like bunnies, kids, rock and roll, mom and dad at the dinner table. Oh, we got way past the kissing. We said, forget the kissing. Let's go straight to the humping like bunnies. And so it's like, yeah, thanks, mom and dad. But I had thought it was maybe the government because, of course, Najima had gotten that phone message saying, okay, you are officially paired up with Takasaki. And then the two state reps come up and they're like, oh, no, actually, here's the paperwork. Rarina is all yours. And so there have been a lot of glances going back and forth, negative ones, very spurning ones between Takasaki and Nisaka. And I've been wondering what exactly that's all about. Before we got to the end of episode 3, where Nisaka planted, a lip lock on Najima while Najima was passed out at his desk, I had been wondering if he was maybe perceptive of the fact that, Takasaki was disingenuous about her infatuation with Najima. Maybe she was just blowing smoke up his ass the entire time, sharing in that memory that she reveals at the middle point and end of episode 1, where he had given her the eraser, and she told this whole backstory that it meant that much more to her as it had to him, and all this kind of stuff. Maybe it was a complete fabrication on her part. And Nisaka being relatively close with Najima, even though he keeps him at arm's length, maybe he was perceiving that Takasaki was full of crap, And that's maybe what was causing the divide between them there, with all the spurning looks and everything like that, casting dagger glances at each other. But then I began to sort of dial back because of that kiss passed between, Nisaka and Najima, though Najima doesn't know thing one about it. He was unconscious at the time. Maybe it's purely a case of jealousy. Nisaka has conflicted feelings toward Najima. Takasaki is very overbearing, outgoing, as trying to get the shoe in the door and kissing Najima. She's very forward. She's the one who is constantly doing the kissing, getting that ball rolling. It's not Najima. Najima never instigates it. He just sort of falls into, Takasaki's arms, in a sense. And she's the one who's constantly pushing herself on him. So I thought with that level of being aggressive, maybe it was fake. Maybe Takasaki was pulling the wool over everyone's eyes and trying to make Najima seem that much more important. And maybe she was getting off on the fact that she was potentially at the heart of the ruination of bringing together this arranged marriage between Najima and Norarina. Maybe that was enough for her. Maybe she was being scathing, and she gets off on being a harlot, a housebreaker, or whatever you call a homewrecker. And this is part of why, Nisaka didn't like her, because he could see what she was doing, whereas Najima, who actually has genuine feelings for her, would naturally be blind to it. That kind of thing. These are all the things that have been running through my mind, and this is what I was left with after watching this episode. To really motivate me to do a video, not even recap what happened in the episode necessarily, with the exception of mentioning the big camping trip that now everyone, all four of these characters, have been sidled up to go along with by the end of the episode. It was Najima's mother's plan or whatever, or maybe it was Orina's, family's plan, but they were going to do it all as a co-op, and she's invited Takasaki, and of course now he has invited Nisaka, and we see a clip in the PV for the next episode. They're all holding hands lakeside with all the fireflies. Such a romantic vision where it's like, what? What is going on with this foursome? And so one of the other speculations I had actually come up with, and a lot of people seem to agree with me and have come up with this on their own accord as well, is that if it hasn't happened already, if Takasaki hasn't already gotten her papers, when she does, presumably she will be aligned with Nisaka. Now, if Nisaka is gay or bi or something like that, it's that much more strenuous for him because they haven't so far delved into same-sex couplings and everything like that. If it's a scenario where the government has to step in and create these arranged marriages, kind of like, a Match.com thing on steroids, where they're matching, as they describe in this episode, the two government representatives, Ministry of Health people. They're describing, they put people through tests. They align the sort of mentalities, the levels of education, the behaviors and everything like that. They align people so they can be that much closer locked and matched as being equivalent. There's no aspect on physical attraction or anything like that. So tentatively, you get two people together who are highly compatible, and this will hopefully propagate and keep perpetual the birth rates. Get it back to a normalization. That's what this is all about. And so that aspect was somewhat intriguing to me. But as I say, where do the same-sex couplings, figure into that? Is that something that is, illegal in this environment? If everyone has to conform, are there exceptions to the rule? So far as we've seen, they really haven't talked about much of that. And so that's been something very, curious for me. But whether that's the case or not, the presumption has been that Nisaka and Takasaki will inevitably be paired together, thus making this even more of a strenuous scenario. Although the easy, sort of lazy cop-out outing of that is put these two in two conjoining houses where they share it, or they're next-door neighbors. Takasaki can go over and moonlight with Najima every day, and vice versa. All you got to do is get Rorina to like, Nisaka. Nisaka, if he is actually bi instead of gay, and not just like bi-curious or gay-curious, maybe that would be a winning combination, because they keep throwing in these little nods to Rorina, looking at Nisaka curiously. She's been very much intimidated by him, but I wonder if that's going to evolve into that doki doki heart racing sensation. The curiosity, the intimidation has suddenly become an attraction. And so so they all have to get follow through with the arranged marriage portions of their relationships. But then if they're like neighbors, they're friends with benefits, they can swap every day and everything like that. On paper, it looks like they're two separate couples, but they intertwine. I don't know. I really don't know. And that's been the the overriding thing about this series has been the curious lack of really explaining things. I know it's something, they're petering it out as the episodes go along. But it's kind of dissatisfying because I want to know now. I want to know what exactly is going on. What is the iconography of this arranged marriage setup? We understand how they put it into motion. We understand that scientifically, air quotes, they align people closer than they would ever align meeting themselves out in the street, out in bars, clubs, Christian dating, mingle, the sort of things. So it's supposed to make the most compatible of people put together in the hopes of making the birth rate, operable again. Bring that back. And will they abolish this arranged marriage thing if that does happen, if that's successful, or is this like, a long-term thing that they're not going to ever dial back from? And where do, as I say, the same-sex couplings, the same-sex persuasions, enter the fray, the LGBTQ community? There doesn't seem to be any thought to any of that. I mean, is it so archaic that perchance if they find out somebody has those preferences, they might be ousted, they may be sent somewhere else, they and or their entire family, that kind of thing? I don't know. I think this series raises a lot of great, grand, speculative questions, and I'm just chomping at the bit. I'm like, checking my watch. When are we going to get there? When are we going to get these explanations? Because this tiptoeing through the tulips, this tiptoeing on eggshells, sometimes it's cute, sometimes it's funny. It's like, oh yeah, tune in, see the awkwardness, but it's not enough. It's not enough for me. Episodes 1 and 3 knocked it out of the park. Grabbed me by the throat, kept me, clasped to my mobile screen watching, just absolutely compelled and engaged, enticed by the curious nature of these couplings, of how these characters who want to conform to their emotions and their loves and their actual interests rather than being told how to live their lives and lead their lives and whom they have to do so with, and all these things, all that conflictual thing, it's very intriguing. But episodes 2 and 4 have fallen flat a little bit because they amped up the awkwardness and the humor, and there's a disingenuousness to it that's not quite on par with episodes 1 and 3 so far for me. And so I just wanted to come on it and sort of speculate and ruminate and vocalize those conflicted feelings, I have watching it, but also the speculative ideas, the theories, and the questions that are overhanging as to how this is all going to shape up and who is loving and who is lying, like how this is all going to wrap up, what direction this is all going to go toward. I don't know. I find that at this juncture, where the episode itself failed to really grip me, I find that discussion to be that much more gripping and engaging. And so I offer it up to you guys in reaction to episode 4, and really kind of just peppering in thoughts going back through the course of all 4 of these first 4 episodes. And I would largely love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you think, what you speculate, where you think this might be going, whether you think this is going to be sort of the cop-out ending where these two couples, Najima and Rarina, they end up getting married, and then, Nisaka and Takasaki end up getting married, and they live next door to each other, and they house swap or whatever, swap, spouses or whatever. Do you think it's that easy? Is it going to be that easy, or is it going to get that much more complicated? Because there's a juvenile aspect to it. In episodes 1 and 3, there was a real mature sort of appraisal of the conflict, the emotional, torrential weight of all of this, the gravitas of the hardship of this scenario for these characters. Episodes 2 and 4, conversely, flipped it on its awkward, humorous, absurd side and took it less seriously, took it more juvenilely, at least to my impression. So it's been a conflict trying to stay engaged, when they keep flip-flopping back and forth between the highly intriguing drama and the more juvenile, jovial, humorous atmosphere of the awkwardness of it all. It's supposed to be awkward, but you can play that awkwardness more realistically, more truthfully, not play up the comedic aspect, which just isn't jiving with the more dramatic aspects of this particular kind of a story, the way it's cut out. So yeah, as I say, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this episode and what you think about the series overall. I'm gonna largely have to wait and see after the next episode, where it looks like it's mostly gonna be fan service. Yeah, I'm not expecting all that grand a sense of drama, but maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. I'll be wrong, and I'll be back here, compelled to talk about it in another video. But time will tell. It remains to be seen. It's just such a strange series that, again, it's been hit and miss. It's been up and down, up and down. These first 4 episodes as either really engaging me or falling flat and leaving me like, what am I watching? So, yeah. Otherwise, it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.